because being foreigners or migrants in this environment, we need a support system, we need one another to thrive and to succeed. And for many of us that did our PhD here in Germany, we found out that during our time, there wasn't anything like this, you know. We don't have any network to run to, individuals to connect with, to offer support and guidance. And for us, it's an opportunity to give back to current PhDs and those who intend to do their PhD in Germany. Now, this conference is beyond Germany because in the last few days, we've had people from Nigeria, from Africa, from different parts of the world identify with this conference. And last year as well, we had the same feeling. A lot of people showing interest. Of course, they want to come to Germany, and they also want to get information about how to come to Germany, scholarship opportunities and things like that. And number two, we want to create a platform for knowledge exchange. We feel this is very important. The empowerment of one another, exchanging information, resources that will allow us to thrive in whatever space we find ourselves, either in your career, either in your business, or whatsoever. This conference is designed for us to exchange information. And from Monday even up to now, all of the seminars and workshops that we have listened to are designed to empower us. So the theme of the conference is capacity building. We want to build the capacities of members of this network to be able to achieve whatsoever they desire in their chosen field. And number three, networking. Like we already had, your network is your net worth. Whatever you desire to achieve in life, you need people to support you. You need people, you need groups, you need a network. And CAPiG is designed also to create a networking platform. As we are here today, we are also here to network, to meet one another, to exchange information and opportunities available within this environment and beyond this environment. And this is what we set out to achieve. And then finally, whatever we do here in Europe, in Germany, there's no place like home. We are all from different places in Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, Cameroon, Uganda. At some point, we need to go back home and transfer knowledge. We need to go back home to contribute our own culture for African development. And there are opportunities and potential for us to achieve that. We have acquired a lot of knowledge here in Germany, during your PhD, during your master's, through your job, your career. We can leverage on that expertise to develop Africa. Regardless of the current situations back home, there are also opportunities. There are people who have gone back home who are doing well. And there are people who are based in Europe and they are contributing whatever they have to move the continent of Africa forward. So we want to create a platform where we can exchange information on various opportunities available to us to develop Africa. These and many more we intend to achieve. So this conference is not the end, it's just a means to an end. And we are hoping that we'll be able to leverage on what we will achieve here today, what we have achieved in the past, and to move forward in the future. So on behalf of members of my team at Horizon Resource Network, I'm happy to receive every one of you. And I'm hoping we all have a good day, a productive engagement, and finally a worthwhile meeting. Thank you very much.
All right. We also have Franziska Götz von Mullenhusen. I'm sorry with my pronunciation. I apologize. All right. So a little bit about Franziska. Franziska obtained a master's degree in international political economy at King's College in London. And she currently works as an advisor of GIZ's Global Program Digital Transformation. And our focus is on the Make IT initiative. So please let's put our hands together for Franziska as she comes forward. Thank you very much. We also have somebody who is going to join us. Is on the way. I understand that he's a little lost. So hopefully, not all of us are used to Hamburg. So hopefully once he joins us, he would come straight to the table, and then I will also do a short introduction so you just know who he is. But right now I think we're ready to start, and I'll hand over to Dr. Ibrahim.
Yes, I think I will use my voice. Maybe the microphone might work. I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
So I think we should really look into the topic because we have great people on this panel part. And the topic is leveraging partnership for sustainable growth of higher education, entrepreneurship, and innovation in Africa. I think it's important for us to look into us as part of the African continent. And we are here in Germany. How can we exchange the opportunity we have here for the development of the African continent? And also, not only for the development, but also to join the movement in providing social good and more or less like solution to different sectors in Africa. I would want to start with Dr. Chigozie, and because he spoke to us about the just energy transition topic. And looking at the focus of the green transition in the energy sector, possibly since you are also not only a researcher, but a CEO of a company, can you share the experience you've had so far and what you see when it comes to looking into the African continent as far as this green transition is concerned? So I will start with you from the aspect of energy, then I will go back to you later on. So,
all right, thank you so much, Ibrahim, for the question. And also, I want to also thank the organizers again for this very nice event. Of course, I would say that entrepreneurs, they have the mindset of wanting to solve a problem. You see, as I think that Professor Kolo, gave a very nice overview of what should motivate a startup. And so entrepreneurs are there trying to actually solve a problem, first and foremost. And of course, as you try to solve this problem, you want to survive. You want to also live through it, so that you are then, in that way, doing what you like to do. So, getting the motivation right. So that's for me also the thing. I was passionate about that. And then, of course, you also then need to understand yourself. What can you do? You see, you need to know. Okay, fine. What can I do? And what does the vision you have require? And then you have to then think, okay, is it something I can do alone, or is it something I have to bring someone? And who am I bringing? Is this person's skill also complementing mine? So these are the questions you need to understand. And of course, for me, founding the company, I also went through that process. Understanding that yes, this is something I naturally I like complex things, and you see that the energy sector in Africa is a very, very complex issue, and so that informed me. And of course, I would also say that the experiences of education you have played a huge role. So I actually lived in Nigeria for a long time, knowing the reality of not having electricity and the effect it had on not making your life at least not comfortable, you see. And then also then coming to Germany where your life is more comfortable as a result of energy. You see it in a more practical way, you can feel it. And then you begin to dig into the issue. Over time, you can really grasp it. Because that was really what I was doing through my master's and then PhD. During my PhD, I was busy really looking into issues about energy. How do you do a project? How do you do a project? So, and I was traveling a lot to understand that as well in African countries. And this is where I was talking now, but this is really how it started, right? So, and then you also see the connection between research and doing. So because this kind of field requires a lot of updates. You need to be top of the game. Things are happening, things are changing constantly. So you see that complementarity there between that research scale and then practice.
Thank you, Dr. Chigozie. So possibly what I've learned from you now is you bring your research to life and start up a company to solve a problem. Yes. Thank you. I'll go to Dr. Francisca. Yeah, I think when we look at Africa-Europe partnership, and with respect to the program Make IT through the GIZ, what has been the journey so far in terms of your experience and what this audience can really learn or do with this program?
Yes, thank you. Thank you also for having me. Yeah, because I remember back then I didn't hear so well, so I'll use this. Hi everyone. Yeah, so maybe first of all I introduce GIZ a bit more, because probably not all of you know it. I heard a lot of you are active in sciences, and GIZ is a development corporation, so we support the German government in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals with international cooperation. And our main commissioning party is the Federal Ministry for International Cooperation and Development Cooperation. So we very closely work together with the government. So as an advisor in the Department of Digital Transformation, I advise the government, the German government, on digital transformation, on policies with regard to cybersecurity, blockchain, artificial intelligence, and so on, all topics regarded to digitalization. And I'm particularly active, though, operatively with the Make IT Alliance. And to answer your question, so the Make IT Alliance is one of the many political initiatives we have. And so GIZ is active in, for instance, African countries. This is discussed with the African government and the German government, so they have bilateral relationships, which means we learn from the African government we're working with, and they learn from us. We cooperate, so it's all about cooperation with us. And the Make IT Alliance is actually an alliance of the digital economy. So we have a few partners in our network, of whom Deutsch Connect is one, and Pumperei just arrived, so I'll make a pause here maybe. Okay. And together with this network, we initiate projects that lead to digital transformation in various fields. A big field is digital skills and education. So we work together with universities, but also with the private sector to really close the digital gap. And we also very much focus on a gender digital gap at the moment. And then secondly, we focus on digital health. It's a very important topic, obviously, due to the pandemic. We focus on a just transition, so also on green climate issues and energy. And lastly, a big focus for us is feminist development policy. Right now, we also have a female minister of the BMZ, so that's a big topic. Yes, and so where are we now? So the Make IT initiative started in 2017. It started with Make IT in Africa. So Make IT in Africa mainly focused on entrepreneurship. Back then we mainly supported African entrepreneurs on the continent, but now we work in 3 ways. So we do policy support, so we advise the governments on how to make it easier for startups in the countries. We support the innovation ecosystems by, for instance, matching them with investors, doing a startup guide with them, analysis and academia with them together. And we also match them with the private sector. And then lastly, we do accelerator programs. And the last presentation, we heard a lot about entrepreneurship, and some of you also asked, does it make sense to rather found your company in Germany? And I would have a few arguments to say it's actually a better idea to found in the African countries, because there are so many accelerator programs and incubators where you can sign up to. They help you with finding investment. They help you with really creating your pitch and your business plan. And for instance, we only fund African startups and that are also locally in Africa. So if you found your company in Germany, we can't support you financially. So that's an argument. So public funds go a lot more abroad. And then Make IT in Africa turned into a bigger initiative. We're also active in Asia now and Latin America. And we're not just focusing on entrepreneurship now, we also have this network, the Make IT Alliance. So we very much focus on public-private partnerships, so partnering with the private sector to achieve development goals. And I can tell you more about that, but I've talked for a long time, so I'll stop now.
Thank you.
All right, if I could. Thank you very much. I think your points about founding companies particularly interesting for me, and I think for a lot of people in the audience as well. So while she was speaking, Kumbirai walked in. So please, let's put our hands together for Kumbirai while you join us here. And I'll also say a few things about him. Kumbirai is the CEO of Deutsche Connect, a Germany-based Afrocentric startup that links African and German businesses through business-to-business matchmaking, market linkages, talent acquisition, and investments. So he has over 10 years experience in the entrepreneurship and African startup ecosystem. He's passionate about empowering African entrepreneurs, and maybe you don't know, well, he's originally from Zimbabwe, right? I think he's the only Zimbabwean in the house currently. So, right, and he holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in philosophy, politics, and law from the University of KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa. So once again, let's welcome Kumbirai. All right, so I think I will ask you, we are still on the first round of questions for Martin, and I'm going to ask you yours. The question is based on your experiences. Can you provide us some insight into the entrepreneurship landscape and the partnership opportunities that are available between Africa and Europe, particularly some that your organization has facilitated?
Thank you very much. All protocols observed. Guys, I'm not late, because if I say I'm late, I'll be lying. There was a mix-up with the addresses and where we went and all that, so my apologies. I always preach about being on time every time. Thank you. Thank you for the question. Thank you. I'm honored to be here as well. So, as Deutsche Connect, we formed Deutsche Connect in 2018 after realizing that there was a disconnection between Germany and Africa. And coincidentally, that was the time when the Marshall Plan for Africa began in Germany in 2017. So I would say, when you start a company, always be very vigilant when you start the company. So we started the company at the right time. So what is the Marshall Plan for Africa? It is whereby the German government is incentivizing German companies to do business in Africa. Germany only does 2% of its trade with Africa, which gives a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of money that the German government is saying is there, but very little of it is going to entrepreneurs or to Africa. It's a story for politicians and another day. But yeah, that was the reason why we formed Deutsche Connect. So on paper, the opportunities are very much there. I think the key sectors that a lot of investment is going to is towards the health sector since COVID, logistics, agribusiness. As Deutsche Connect, in December 2021, we brought through some entrepreneurs from the DRC. We did an ecosystem tour with them in Frankfurt, and we also introduced them to some German investors and partners who were looking in particular into the African market as well. So we do P2P matchmaking, we do market linkages, and we do talent acquisition. As my colleague Francisca also mentioned, the hubs, it's very important to take advantage of the partnerships that are happening within the hub system. I think one of them as well, I also wanted to tell any entrepreneurs here, there's one called Star Africa. Currently, they're looking for people, entrepreneurs who want to go to Rwanda. You can apply by the 18th of September. You can check them up on LinkedIn, or I can also send to Taiwo via LinkedIn for anyone who might be interested. So they're looking for people in Germany who are looking to go into the African market. Personally, I also did my as an entrepreneur in residence with Berlin Startup School, and it opened up a lot of doors and opportunities for me, because like I'm saying that very few people in Germany actually know about Africa. They think that maybe Africa is one country. They think that maybe a lot of people were still living, in the bush and all that. which is fair because they don't know. Similarly, a lot of Africans, they don't know a lot about Germany. So there's this need whereby there's an opportunity. I don't know, we come from different countries here, but each and every one of us from each country we come from, there's something distinct about your country that you can be the number one in Germany. Or even, take for example, Germans go for holidays a lot. Actually, in Southern Africa, where I come from, Germans are the number one tourists, more than even the British who colonized us, you see. But Germans are going there. So imagine you're coming from a Southern African country. You can already start your own tourism company because you know your country and you also know the language and you stay in Germany. So I think we're living, as Africans, I think we're living in the correct time in Germany because this is at a government level. This is also very much at an individual, at hub level. There are so many partners. Impact Hub Berlin is partnering with different hubs in Africa. There are so many programs, VC4A, Impact. I think some of these things as well will also be able to give all the links that you might need. But maybe in closing on this one, I'll just say that definitely there are a lot of entrepreneurship opportunities for young Africans or for Africans in Germany for Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I think it's important we allow the audience to ask questions because you've had one or two ideas about what they do and the opportunity that is available with the organizations. Please, over to you.
So, does anyone have a question at this stage yet? If you do, please put up your hand and then we can start from there. Okay, everyone is looking at me. All right, there's a question. Please come closer and then. Okay, if your voice is loud enough, then it's fine.
So, okay. Thanks a lot. I think my question goes to Francisca. Actually, when we talk about startups, we may be talking about, it's a business and we need to be profitable at the time. And that means becoming profitable, we need to also look at a startup that is highly scalable. I'm talking from the perspective of when you say that most of the development money goes to maybe startups that are rooted in the African continent mostly. What of in a situation where the startup starts scaling up and starts being so much profitable that you need to expand to possibly Germany? Do we still have some restrictions maybe on the startup that maybe was initially funded by any of the ministries in Germany, getting expanded into Germany? Any kind of restriction on that?
So, thank you for your question. Let me just rephrase to see if I understood it correctly. What if, for instance, a startup started out in Africa who's then expanding to Europe or Germany? Are there any restrictions?
Yeah, with also the development money from any of the ministries, like you said, yeah.
Okay, no, not at all. So, because obviously we want you to scale and be successful, so there are no restrictions, and we even have programs that support you finding, German customers, German investors, partners, and so on. So there are no restrictions really.
Okay.
And there are also so many different programs. So there are also German programs where you can be a founder in Germany with a solution for African countries. And it's just that Make IT in Africa mainly funds founders who start their business. Yeah.
If I could follow up from there, no, it's okay. My question is more along the line of, since GIZ is a development corporation organization, as it were, is the focus of these sort of businesses in support only for development-related businesses, or if you have an idea for a pure profit-making business, of course you're providing a solution, but it's a profit-making venture. Can it be supported as well?
Yes, we, for instance, often the startups we support, it can be profitable for you as a founder. We have a lot of startups that focus on agriculture. It seems solidly, focusing on profit, as you, but it is also solving a sustainable development goal of hunger and poverty. That is one of the goals. And we do tend to, so that was actually one of the thoughts I had in the previous presentation, is if you want to start a company, it is a great idea to look at the Sustainable Development Goals and try to solve one of those problems. Because also, you know, German startups in the German market is quite saturated, the German market. And so I mainly see opportunity in, for instance, solving problems that have to do with climate or, anything to do with the Sustainable Development Goals. So, to answer your question, it's possible if it's solely about focusing on profit, but for us, usually you can attach it to a Sustainable Development Goal.
Then
Yeah.
linkage is there.
For instance, a key focus for us is supporting female founders. So
Okay.
that for us is solving a problem.
Okay. Fantastic. Okay, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, just to end on that, I think us as Africans, we are very lucky that Africa has a lot of problems. So, for an entrepreneur, a problem is a solution. So, you see, it's unfortunate that she's here and she's from the GIZ, but I'm going to speak as an entrepreneur. Sometimes entrepreneurs' developmental goals are not really what we're looking for. We're entrepreneurs, you know, that's the reality. But the German system and the way they are supporting sustainable development across the world, it goes hand in hand with all the problems in Africa. Look at any problem you want to go, whether we talk about climate change, we talk about even fair trade, we talk about everything, the problems that we have in Africa, we talk about even women entrepreneurs and all that. So, by just looking at what the GIZ is doing and all the programs that they're doing, there's an opportunity out there for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we have how many hands? We have 2 currently. All right. Yeah, let's start with the gentleman. I think he's the first.
Thank you. My name is Ayodej. My question is, are these GIZ funding specifically for profit-making organizations and not for charity, or are there some a charity organization, strictly charity NGO, can benefit from?
So there are various different projects at GIZ. My part focuses mainly, so we do a lot of public-private partnerships, and for that partnership we actually need a profitable company or a profit-oriented company, because it's supposed to be really a partnership. So when we do a project, 50% of the funds come from the company and 50% come from the BNZ, the ministry. And when we do a project, we really, with regard to public-private partnerships, it's not supposed to be a corporate social responsibility project, because we don't want to do greenwashing and stuff like that, and we want business sustainability. So when we go out, we want it to continue. So we need the company to have a business sense behind it. But of course, we work a lot with NGOs and so on. So it's not always profit-oriented, that's just public-private partnerships. It's sort of a method that GIZ uses with companies. But we also work together, you know, with NGOs, universities, and you do have, for instance, projects. We have digital transformation centers in many countries. And if a company comes to us and says, you know, we have a CSR program where we want to upskill people, then we implement it into the project. Yeah, it's just that the method where we match money with the company, that's only done with the companies who are profitable. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have one more question.
Yeah, my voice is loud.
Okay, fantastic.
My name is Olamide. My question is, there are times that okay, when it comes to governments partnering with businesses outside a particular country, I tend to see that the people who actually need the money do not get the money. Like the people who are actually doing the things that you want to correct or you want to, you know, make impact in, they do not actually get this money. So, I mean, I have a social scientist background and I know the work of the GIZ. My question is, how does the GIZ then reach out to these people directly such that these funds, billions of euros, millions of euros, actually reach the grassroots who are actually making the impact and making the change?
Thank you for your question. It's a very good question. So, I personally wrote my PhD on supporting entrepreneurs in Kenya to get to digital transformation. So my personal answer to this is, I really love supporting startups because you give it to the people directly from the country who know their problems, who know the solutions, who just need the funds, like you said. But German Development Corporation has different ways of working. So we have many startup programs, but we also work with the governments. There are many ways of doing it, many forms of cooperation. And of course, there's probably ways where, we support a government or an NGO who then gets the money and it doesn't end up with the people who would probably do a better job. But yeah, that's for instance why I can choose where I work at GIZ. I like to work with the private sector and with startups. That's sort of just my approach that I take to make sure that that's the case. But yeah, we still need to get the word out to more people. So yeah, when we, for instance, have accelerator programs and so on, we love to work with, for instance, Deutsch Connect, and we have AFROLINK and PAG, so many foundations, associations, African networks who help us to get it to the right people. Yeah.
Just to add, it also takes you guys here and myself, Africans in Germany. So GIZ has got a lot of projects. You are allowed to put your CV in the GIZ portal. You say, I'm from Nigeria, I'm from Zimbabwe, this is what I'm good at. So that they get to know that they have people who are in Germany that they can trust to go back home and do this project. Because there's also another layer whereby some of the projects are not successful because they're taking the wrong people. They're taking someone from Germany to Africa, but they don't really know the local systems. I stay in Germany, I know the system in Germany, I also know the system in Zimbabwe. So the challenge is for us to also be involved in such programs along the way. So, thank you.
Maybe I just add on, because I know that's one of the questions, what you guys can do. That's absolutely true. You can apply to jobs and you'd be sort of the key group that we would want working at GIZ. But just to add on, we actually work mainly with local people. We employ almost 90% of local staff in the countries, and we only have very seldom German people going there, and they then more take the task to do the communication between the headquarters or the German, sort of the German parts. But that evolved, I just want to say.
All right. Thank you very much. At least it's good that we are also hearing about the evolution.
I don't believe in developmental money, because money that comes from developmental organization is also attached to that organization. There is also things that they're looking at doing. Me, I'm an entrepreneur. I'd rather I have an idea, go with my idea. It doesn't matter if I don't find any funding from anyone. I must take the risk and start the business. So for me, the key is let's identify the people locally who are talented, and let's invest in those local people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please let's put our hands together.
Because as far as the energy sector is concerned, we have African Scholars Liaison. Could you provide some insight about job opportunities in the energy sector and what role each and everyone can play? I mean, you as a businessman, I feel one thing is to have a PhD, the other thing is to see a problem and try to solve them. We all need a kind of launching pad, So possibly, maybe this job opportunity could be that part for everyone of them. So provide us with a general insight and those opportunities, just the specific ones.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll try to be as specific as possible. But I just want to start by saying that if you say energy sector is very broad. And there is a lot of angles you can come in from. You see, there are so many angles you can come in from if you want to play in the energy sector, for instance. And I think that, in fact, I mean, it's hard not to find any skill that cannot fit into the energy sector right now, because of just how relevant it is, as it is attached to climate change, and climate change is a hot topic. And so, especially when it comes to the field of renewable energy, by the way, like if you want me to be specific. of course, you know, it would be difficult not to find an opportunity in the renewable energy sector if you have a really innovative idea to put in there. And then, of course, then the issue of energy access is another thing, also different. So, so people can come in, for instance, as consultants. The job of a consultant is also quite important, and they are everywhere, advising maybe private sector, you know, on how to scale up their business and give them ideas, maybe that came from their PhD studies or master studies. You can also have consultants that focus on public sector. Also consultants, you know, you have a job and then you're advising a particular government or a particular ministry on how to structure their policies, you see, and how to do those things. You can even have financial experts who are advising both private sector and public sector on how to structure their financing, to be able to attract more funding also from the private sector. That advises, for instance, let's assume that a business gets a funding from Make It to start, right? At some point, maybe this business wants to scale. You want maybe extra funding from private sector investors. So you could also have advisors, just financial investors that specializes particularly in that. And then when you go to technicians, of course, people who have now studied engineering themselves, they want to start dealing with solar panels, for instance, construction completely. And so, as they are also individual, there is also then the possibility of combining all of these skills, right? You know, people who have these different skills to come together and then pursue things in concert. And so that is also the experience that I've had, you know, working, doing business in that sector. And as I said, there is already a problem that has been existing, right? Which is in the energy sector and electricity. Africa, once you put on the map in the night, you see that this has been existing for years, right? And people are increasingly knowing that this can be solved. And then coupled with climate change and the recent deep discussion on climate change, there is now also an added opportunity in that sector, especially when you then want to focus on renewable energy. So that is for me what I can say.
All right, I think it's safer this way.
Okay.
Thank you. So I'm going to ask Francisca, from the GIZ point of view, can you share some of the opportunities? I know we've spoken about some of them, but if you can also get more into details, yeah, about opportunities available that could be attractive to this audience, particularly how to expand partnership opportunities through the Make IT project and other similar projects that we may be interested in. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I think it would be interesting for sort of three groups. First group, as I already mentioned, US PhDs looking for a job. To advise also the German government. I do understand that people are critical, for instance, of development cooperation. I totally get that. So we need you to advise to make it better. And so we have really jobs where you either focus on advising the German government mainly. So that's where your research and your academic skills are really valuable, because how do we do that? Yes, we have exchange with the government, but we also actually provide a lot of written information to the government on what to do. So it's really, you're so skilled in that, having to write a PhD thesis. So that is a really good skill you have. And on the other hand, we have projects where it's more operative, where it's also, usually you'll be put into the global side of things, which means you're actually putting projects into practice. So that's a lot about project management, thinking up projects, and so on. So that's more sort of the practical part of things. So that's that. We also obviously work together with the private sector and associations and foundations. So if you somehow already work in one of those groups, we can have a discussion if it maybe makes sense for you to join, for instance, the Make IT Alliance or a different alliance at GIZ. The Make IT Alliance focuses on digital transformation, so that maybe is not everyone's topic, but we have different networks that you could join. And for instance, through those networks, you also get to know more, for instance, of the programs. It is quite hard, I'm honest. There are so many projects and so many opportunities at GIZ. I don't know them all. And I wish I'd have known that, because I wrote my bachelor thesis about starting a company as well. And just the public money that's available is crazy, but it's so hard to find and navigate through all of the pages. So that's a good way, joining these alliances, to understand how you can make use of the system the most. And obviously you can join accelerators, incubators, receive funding, knowledge, partnerships. And then lastly, where is it? Yeah, well, I put you all together, sort of entrepreneurs, but also the private sector and so on. Yeah, those are ways.
I do have one more thing to ask you before we throw it open to the audience. I have worked in an NGO that was GIZ and said funded implementing projects in Uganda and in East Africa, and I understand the bureaucratic processes that you have to deal with in Germany when you are doing stuff like that. And the sentiment has always also been there is a lot of funding, but access to it, being able to actually get it seems to be a big challenge. So if there are specific websites, for example, that you can give us that we can start from, that would be great. Specific alliances, you've mentioned the Make IT Alliance, you mentioned maybe some accelerators or some incubators that people can look into, depending on, of course, there are many people across different disciplines here. So I think that would be very helpful. Yeah. And also generally how to handle this bureaucracy.
Yeah, I can give a few examples. So for public-private partnerships, these are sort of big partnerships between the private and public sector. Check out the page Develop with 3 Ps. Develop PPP. There you find the criteria of what it takes to, for instance, participate in a partnership where you get 50% funding from the German government. There's also Develop for Ventures. You will also find that on the website. That's for startups. That recently launched, when I say recently, it's been 2 years, and we're not in that many countries in Africa yet. We're in Nigeria, Ghana, and a few more, I think 4 in total only, but we will grow into other countries. That is amazing. This is sort of what I dream of, because then we can directly finance startups if they then go into the Sustainable Development Goals. So that's one page, and then usually, so we have all of these projects, and for instance, if I'm thinking about setting up a digital skills academy in Ghana, for instance, right now, and it will focus on female people, and I will look for a business in Ghana that is female founded to carry out those trainings for us. And so companies come to us and they look for contracts from us. And that is what you are talking about. That's quite difficult because due to German law, so because we're dealing with German taxpayers' money fully, we have to write terms of references, which means companies have to apply for it. It's a whole process. And that process takes longer than it would if you could just say that person should do it, but it is sort of the right way in terms of law. And when you apply there, I would say you can contact the project person. So on GIZ you find different projects on Leverist, right on Leverist, the website. That's where our projects are posted. Find the project person that stands there and really ask them what they're looking for. Ask them questions, it's totally fine, because they also want you to hand in a better proposal. So they support you with what they're looking for, and then your proposal gets accepted. And start early with your proposal. So yeah, they vary. Sometimes they're like 2 pages, sometimes they're 4 pages. Yeah. And then you can follow, so Make IT in Africa on LinkedIn, if you're looking for startup accelerators that you can participate in. So the BMZ doesn't want to have so many LinkedIn pages because the Make IT initiative also goes above Make IT in Africa, but you'll get some information there. And we also have other startup programs, and usually we post on Make IT in Africa about other startup programs on LinkedIn as well. That's some pages.
Thank you very much.
Okay, yes, I think do we still have more questions from anyone?
Thank you. My question goes to Africa is often referred to as that continent, and I also refer to it, or refer to her, rather. Refer to her as a continent with a rich energy resources without energy. Now, in your capacity and as CEO of your organization, what do you think will be the way forward to chart towards harnessing energy in Africa? Take Nigeria, for instance. We have crude oil, but we don't refine it in Africa.
Yeah, thank you so much for that observation. Yeah, of course, we all know that this is the case. Can you hear me?
Yes.
And this surprisingly has been the case for a very, very long time. This paradox of plenty but so few. And it also then applies so much on the energy sector. And I say this because it then impacts other businesses. The reason why so many other nice businesses in the African continent cannot really scale up has something to do with energy. The cost, at one point, it makes the business unsustainable. That if you compare the price of producing it, let's say in Nigeria, and importing it from somewhere, and importing it is cheaper, you say, let me close down this business and start import and export business. Many people have done it. So many people who had so many nice ideas, they say, okay, fine, we have seen this gap. This gap is existing, but instead of then thinking, okay, let's use the cassava to do the bread, or use this and do this. But then when they calculate the cost, or maybe they start it and risk and then they discover that, this is my friend who is even just getting his own from it's cheaper. And then he closed down his own and starts doing the same thing. This has been the problem. It has really stifled the economy, removed jobs from the continent, even relocated companies away from Nigeria over time. We used to have companies like Peugeot, Michelin and all these things. So these things they are living. So it has been a very, very important issue that directly links to growth, and that is why, of course, the public sector plays a huge role, and that is why I also really liked this whole thing about public-private partnership. So usually, the programs or ideas that will go forward, at least government has to know about it, that you are there. Because government has a role to play. They have a role to smoothen the ground for you to survive. You see, they have a certain kind of policies in their belt to play around with. They can do tax breaks for certain kind of products, or support the Jonathan government started something similar to this, with Yes pen, if you remember, for those of you who were in Nigeria then. So things like, so government has a role to play. It doesn't actually also have to be federal government. You have to also know that you can come as down as state level. So you have to also look at, okay, which programs at the state level, can you identify closer with? I know, for instance, Anambra states that there is something, a program like that if you say, okay, fine, I have an idea, and I want to do it there, they have an agency that does with investment that can then help you further. So, but also look, in other states, there could be things like that. They have in Lagos too. So oftentimes we are looking at the national scale and neglect the state level. That's also what I observe. So that of course, then when these kind of opportunities come to drive, actually GIZ is quite strong in Nigeria, in the energy sector, as far back as even what is called the NESP program. So there was the NESP 1, NESP 2, now it's going on. So yeah, a lot of things are going on. And some of you may also know about the mini-grid projects going on in different areas. So there are my point is that there's something going on, but there is more to be done. There is more to be done if you really compare them with the potentials that are there and exactly what one is making use of. Then you see that there is a room for a lot of improvement. And the way to do this improvement is through cooperation, through cross-border cooperation, Germany, Nigeria, or Germany, Cameroon, or Germany, Kenya. There is a role there. So you could benefit technical assistance for it, not just money, by the way. So, some of us forget that there is also technical assistance, and there's technical assistance, and you want to have that skill transfer to be able to develop a particular kind of technology in a particular economy that will then create jobs and then can continue after, let's say, the supporting organization is no longer supporting you. I think that the role of development organizations is not to be with a business forever. It's just to really help that business stand, and then they go to other ones. This should really be the model of development institutions. And a way to really make sure that this happens is to give, is to then focus on the technical skill transfer. Business modeling, technical skills that can then remain with the entrepreneur, of which we make the entrepreneur to stand by himself, to source financing in the future from wherever he wants to source it from, and further grow. But there is a lot of room to summarize, there's a lot of room for improvement. And while private sector is should play a role, we cannot also minus a very important role of the public sector. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Chigozie. Thank you, Dr. Francisca. They will still be here. We want to move to a small session that is important for us because we've had a lot of things from them. And before we go to that, I would like you to give them a round of applause because I know those questions are very challenging questions. Sometimes when you come to this kind of gathering, you just have to be fully prepared. So this session 4 will just be a discussion group. It's also a sort of network opportunity for you because we still feel there's a need for all of you to discuss amongst one another. The first point here is we will be having 4 working groups. We will have different tasks, which you can just go to the one you are aligned with. So we don't want to choose for you. So we'll just place the sheets at some random spots, so just walk around, check through the topic, and you discuss that topic with the people you have there. And possibly, we'll have to go around while this is going on. In the next 20-25 minutes, you come back, then we have a wrap-up of everything. So you just give us a sort of, let me call it practical steps. Number 1, practical steps to enhance capacity building for Africans in Germany. So practical steps. Number 2, we have practical steps to improve trade opportunities between Africa and Europe. Number 3, practical steps to encourage African scholars to climb up the academic ladder in Germany. Number 4, practical steps to bring our research ideas into business through collaboration with German institutions or companies. So just go for the one you like, and it's important by the time we come back, we just have one representative just giving us highlights, just to wrap up all this session. Because you've had so much and it's not okay for us to just have a kind of one-way thing, so it should be a kind of two-way feedback method. So you've had, you've learned, you've understood, so it's important you provide us with some insight into all these 4 points. So I'll just place this sheet somewhere. So I'll just place them, just come around.
So here we have like practical steps to bring our research ideas into business and collaboration with German institutions. So if you're interested in research, business, pipeline, this is where you should be. Working groups, and at this round, we would like to take the results of your deliberation. So if you could tell the larger house about what you discussed. Like we said, there are practical steps, and I believe that people in the audience may also have 1 or 2 questions or clarifications that they will have. So. I don't know which group this is, but when you come, remind us once again about the topic with which you're dealing, and then give us a summary of your deliberations. And then if we have any questions or any clarification or anything that we want to learn, any points, then we would also bring it up. So I'm going to invite the first group. I think it's the group that was talking about capacity building. So please, let's put our hands together for whoever the representative of capacity building. We have your right to opinion. But it's going on. I have
So in my group, we deliberated on the topic was practical steps to enhance capacity building for African scholars in Germany. So we started from the career path down to self-development, then involvement, leadership, and governance. For the capacity building, for the career path, as scholars coming from Africa, I highlighted that we have to upskill ourselves by learning hard skills and soft skills that are in demand in Germany, such that when we put out applications for recruitment, when we go for networking opportunities, we'll be able to leverage with others, that is people that were brought up here and already those skills are part of them. We'll be able to leverage with them in the workplace and will be relevant and
I have a question.
in the workplace?
Yes, because we asked you to be practical. So can you give us examples of the soft skills and the hard skills that we
Okay,
need?
for instance, we made mention yesterday the PhD, I've forgotten his name, the man that transitioned from, he had his PhD and he was into data analysis towards the end of his PhD. So we are highlighted that we can learn, we noticed that in the world now, tech skill is very important, data, and also the prof that joined us today was making mention of data now to clean data, now to engineer data, now to create your data, now to get interpretations from your data. So I think everybody can upskill, try to learn. There are different parts in tech that anyone can learn. Take relevant courses, try to volunteer for people that will attend boot camps and all. So that's for the career soft skills. And we said we'll have to do this in addition to our graduate studies here. Let's say we come in as a student, we have to do it in addition to we don't just, because recruiters don't just want to see your certificate, what you studied, they want to see the value you bring into their company when you get recruited. So that's it for African scholars. Then we moved to self-development. We said as Africans coming to a new country, Germany, that has its own culture, we should try to integrate into their culture. We should not be into a shell, we should not be introverts. We should try to make German friends and other friends. For instance, we have Indians here, we have Asians, we have people from other countries. We should try to learn a bit about their culture. We should find it interesting. And financial literacy, in Nigeria where we all come from, we noticed that we don't have stuff like insurance and other bills that we pay are not rampant in Nigeria. So here we have to be literate about our finances. When we earn, we should know we have the legal obligation to pay taxes, to pay insurance, and we should know how to manage our finances. We can also, a group member mentioned that we can invest in the, there are some assets we can try to invest in here. For instance, stock, we should try to learn how to invest in them and all. Then health, diet, and sports. We also noticed that Germans, early in the morning, you see them, they cycle, they jog, their diets. If you go to a German store or any store, you see they have a lot of fruits, vegetables. We should not try to be stereotyped and say it's just African foods we want to eat. We should try to eat their vegetables. We should try to eat their thank you. They have varying fruits that are nutritious to our body. We should try to explore their varying ranges of fruits. Then our health, we should take our health insurance seriously. Then for African community development platforms, we noticed that for most African scholars that get here, they really find it tough in their first few months, especially if they don't have anyone here, like a family or anyone to put them through. So they mentioned that there is a group, NICIC, that they try to, like for instance, the distressed student that came from Ukraine, they organized some welfare packages for them, and also we highlighted that the platforms should get better such that everybody will be able to like benefit from the platform. And for leadership and governance, we also mentioned that we should try to get involved. A group member highlighted that in his area where he lived, the Germans here on weekends, they try to organize meetings just to people living in the area. We should not shy away from grassroots involvement. We can also volunteer. There are a lot of volunteering opportunities here. We can volunteer and just in a way of giving back to humanity. So in the broader sense, for capacity building, as an African scholar in Germany,
for us to be able to juggle this and this and this with our academic, which is our basic responsibility here, we have to be resilient, consistent, and be disciplined, because that's a way we can achieve all this. Else it's just going to be a mirage and we wouldn't achieve anything. And at the end of the day, for capacity building, when we highlighted that when we have all this in our daily lives, it's not going to be easy to upskill, it's not going to be easy to try to eat well, to try to manage your finances, it's not going to be easy to volunteer, it's not going to be easy to learn. Yeah, for civic education, we should try to learn about the system of government, the language, we should make friends with Germans, they will teach us, they'll try to correct us, we'll learn a little bit of idioms for them and all. So, in conclusion, when we have all this in our daily lives, we will be able, because we built capacity, we'll be able to be excellent in all we do, and I think we'll be on the same pedestal as people that were giving back to here and from a good country. Thank you very much. Any question for them? Does anyone have any question for them? Okay, there are no questions for them. We can clap again.
Yeah.
There's one.
It's just the diet aspect. Don't mind me, I'm coming back to you. I mean, sometimes because of the way we've adapted in Nigeria and then or other countries we've come from, some of the diets we eat here might not sustain you. It's true.
Yeah.
If I'm lying, you will know. So,
yeah,
if you can.
I made, in our group, I also made mention of that when you are going for work or to school, when you eat just bread and juice, because I noticed Germans, they mostly eat bread and juice, it wouldn't sustain you. You want to eat eba and something solid. So the idea is just that, because when I read about the culture of, I think Germany has over 1,000 types of bread. So when you just go on your streets, you see different types of bread. They are below €1. You just try to try a different type of bread. No, we're not saying that should be your main diet. Just try to explore new dishes. True. Yeah, so that's it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So, in addition to that, I think about the in-field also, it also relates to, for instance, if we are hanging out with German friends and this is what they are eating, we talk about capacity building. So if you are not eating with me, maybe we're not in total exactly. So just for this purpose also.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's clap for them. Thank you so much. I think the issue of food is very controversial, but it's also an emotional issue. If a lot of us come here in our 20s and we've lived our lives on a certain sort of lifestyle, it will be potentially very hard to change it. But I believe that the main point is to give it a chance. If we are going to be here and want to integrate properly, that should also involve the lifestyle, including the food. So I completely agree with them. The second group, I'm not entirely sure what this group is talking about, but I believe that you recognize your right up. So please, this group should come out and present their ideas to us.
Let me where is she now? Let me get it.
Where is she?
No, it's Dr. Aha. Yeah, he's the one.
Ladies first.
What's wrong with
This time around, ladies first.
Let us clap for them.
This time I have to cover myself.
My name is Adeyinka. What's your name?
My name is George.
So we are here to present our poster. And our topic is practical steps
to bring out research ideas into business through collaboration with German institutions. So first and foremost, what is research ideas? I think research idea is just perhaps a topic or a subject that a researcher wants to research about. Then first and foremost, you identify the problem. So in our group, we made mention of a lot of challenges that we are facing in Africa. And each example is plastic pollution. So after identifying the problem, that is the challenge that you want to solve, then you look out for possible solutions. Like now, the idea that we use is, okay, what are the problems that supposed to have been happening in Germany here that has been solved? How did they solve it? Then how can we use such idea to over there in Africa, perhaps in Nigeria? So we made mention of plastic pollution, like I made mention, like something like this, like recycling. This is something that is not really common in Nigeria. So we are looking forward to perhaps collaborating with companies that recycle plastic here in Germany. Then we can do this exactly the same thing over there in Africa. So they can sell their idea to us, or we can exchange ideas as well. They can make money, we too can make money, we can do transact business together and grow. So that's where collaboration comes in.
Thank you so much. So just to do justice to it a little bit. So up here we presented some steps because a practical steps. So presented here of the steps, and then here we have the solutions and then possible collaboration. So our topic, to say the least, is very controversial. So we need to define some terms, so which includes research ideas. So we have conflicts with it. Where are the research ideas originating from? So research ideas normally originate from the university. So if it is to be called research, it could be your own idea which you will patent, which is personal. But if I think about it from the research perspective, then it's coming from a university which will involve somehow a professor who is in charge. And at some point, you write a thesis, a thesis or master's thesis, bachelor, and then you're not allowed to take those ideas into practice, either by the people that fund you or by the institution where you are. So here, we try to be more generic, so bringing a lot of solutions to, if you think about a private personal idea which could be leading to business, you think about sustainability. Is this idea actually not already somewhere? Are people not doing it? So we gave instance of like, we are looking at where we can have collaboration with German institutions. It can be, and also the term German institution can be generic as well. It could be the finance, the people that left us here today, which is the kids, or it could be research institutions as well. So we battled with this, and then we decided that yes, we make it so open as well that if one wants to engage in a personal research or your own idea, you also have to look at your competitors in the research as well. Then academic collaboration, seeing some of the theses which the academic research ideas are harboring, you can collaborate with your supervisors, tell them that this particular topic you've written could be of relevance and importance, or could be relevant in our home country. Is it possible for you to expand it into proposals, leading to identification of problems and then possible collaboration? Of course, visibility study is at the base also doing some work. So this is how we, I don't know if I'm forgetting anything.
Thank you very much. So in summary, conclusively, so first you identify the problem, then you do your feasibility studies, then after that you find solution to the problem, like I made an example the other time, like plastic pollution. Then you look out for who you can collaborate with, because perhaps you have your main challenge now is funding. Then you look out for who you collaborate with. After that, you look out for how you are going to sustain your business. Like Professor Kolo mentioned the other time, try and ensure to make your business as formal and as possible. Not where you're supposed to be calling someone professor something, or you are calling the person by name. So make it as formal as possible. Then look out for how you are going to sustain your business as well. Then you look out for your competitors. How can you have edge over your competitor? Then your the business, the academic collaborator. So that's all from our side.
Does anyone have questions for them?
Yeah, we'll try to answer the question.
Any questions? Okay, somebody has a question.
Thank you so much for your presentation. George mentioned that it will be quite difficult for, as a master's student or as a bachelor, to transform your master thesis research into practical ideas or something. So why do you think so then? Why do we need to do that? I mean, if the ideas or the research are not going to be transformed into practical stuff.
Thank you, you made mention of this so that I debunk it immediately. Because what I said is that at some point, because of how your master's or PhD is funded, sometimes it's confidential. Confidential in the sense that you cannot really take this document into, it lives, you live and then you give the document to people that funded you, or maybe they have special interest. So that's what I mean, that you cannot on your own. I think it to be a breach of confidence. You sign some document as well, and it's legally binding. So that's what I mean. As for your own personal business, I think I cannot make such an assumption.
But also, it depends. For example, on the kind of research you're doing and the sort of funding that you have and all of that. It's not always a black and white situation. That may be the case for some people, but others may have the freedom to be able to do whatever they want with their idea.
Of course. I mean, this I just want to mention because if you make it general, someone might fall into the problem of a confidential work and they're taking it for, it depends, so.
Okay, any more questions?
I hope that answers your question.
Of course.
If not, you can see us.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we can have the last, but not the least group. Dr. Ibrahim, if you can help me.
My name is Akiron Nasruddin Adobu.
And I'm Judith Smart.
So we are here to present our discussion. We had to come up with practical steps to encourage African scholars to climb up the academic ladder in Germany. So first and foremost, we identify the first thing as an academia, or the person in academia. So the first thing is to be passionate and be self-driven. I mean, you should be passionate about what you do. I mean, don't just go into academic without being passionate. So if you are looking for money, don't go into academics. No money in academics, of course. So the first thing is to be passionate. So be passionate about what you want to do. So this will motivate you and this will keep you going. And number 2 on our list is to have a breakthrough in your career. It is very important as an academician to have a breakthrough. So the easiest part, not like in African context now, that once you spend some years in the university, like, or after 10 years, after 15 years, this man is due for professorship already. So I don't think it's like that in Germany and other Western countries. So you have to have a breakthrough, identify a particular problem, solve the problem. I mean, it could be in Germany, it could be in Europe. That will be of advantage to the system. So then we try to also invest in learning language and culture. That is more of cultural integration. So because one of the things is, as an English-speaking people, so you come to Germany and you focus on my academic career. And you being a university professor or a university lecturer here in Germany, so if you only restrict yourself to English language, there will be limitations to your usage for the university. Just take, for example, as a lecturer, there are English taught program, there are German taught programs. So, and you are only restricted to English. So the university will not use you to, you will not be useful to the university at the full, I don't know how to put it, capacity or something. So you have to learn how to quickly integrate with the system, especially learning their language and their culture. So another thing we listed is try to ask questions, build networks. There are some people already in the field. So just like Professor Bando and Dr. Ibrahim and some other scholars that have passed through that process. So try and ask questions from them, and network is very, very important. So I will hand over to my colleague to probably continue. So.
Okay, so the first thing is that it's imperative that you seek for grants. So if you do not know who to meet or where to start from, opportunities like this or programs like this avails that opportunity to actually ask the right questions so that you are able to get the kind of sponsorship or support that you need to carry on. Then the fifth is that we consider that it's very paramount that programs, that scholars who intend to go into academia are empowered through programs such as this, right? So someone already mentioned that we have a group here in Germany, CAPiG. So through such programs, people looking up to people like you and hearing from you kind of inspires that person, kind of builds on the passion of the person, because some of us came here with that, light and passion to go into academia, but a lot of things, the cultural shock must have, one way or the other hits the person. So seeing people who have, who are thriving kind of revives the passion. So to, keep up with such programs as this, and in detail, like, I don't know how CAPiG program would transform in the future, but it would be nice that more students in their master program can attend this program so that they can see things for themselves and learn. Then also we consider that it is also very helpful that the people who are here are able to recommend in your various places. You can recommend people to your offices, or you can recommend people and help them through the application processes, their research work, other relevant opportunities, that you give them that push. Sometimes I know PhD can be really, or academia can be really exhausting, that you give them that support. And lastly, collaboration and mentorship cannot be overemphasized. They're very important and key factor for anybody who wants to thrive, that you meet up with people and collaborate, and you also have mentors who help you through your journey in academia. So that would be it. And before you clap for us, you already are the ones, most of the people we have here are already in the system. So it would also be nice, while you're asking your questions, to also get your advice on how students who really love academia can carry on.
So before we round it up, while I was listening to other speakers, and so some other ideas came to my mind, personal idea. So the thing is, for you to be in the academia, the first thing is to understand the business. For me, I've been in academic for quite a while, and understanding the business means that for you to thrive in academic, it's very important to publish publications. These are very important. So this is the core part of the business. So like you being a data analyst, so it means that you must have, or a machine learning or whatever, you must have built model, you must have done this. So as an academia, what you have to showcase to the public or to people is, you published relevant journals in your, in your chosen field. You can't be an academic and say no, I won't publish. Then you are waiting for professorship. So probably maybe in your village or something. So,
Thank you very much. All right. Any questions for them, or someone wants to take a stab at what she raised before she made her last statement? She says, for those who have, if I understood you correctly, who have experience from navigating into academia here, can you provide some advice as well? You have a question.
Okay. So you start your presentation with, there is no money in the academia. And I like it. And I want to make money. Is it possible that at the start of my career, I go into like, I don't know, the industry, and I do my work and I make my money, and then maybe when I'm like 40, I decide to join the academia? Is that possible?
yeah, of course, it is. To the best of my idea, just take for instance the case of Professor Okolo. So he first of all went into the academics and later exit and to start his own business, and he's excelling, of course. And you can as well start with business, but one thing is as an African, once you start seeing money, it will be very, very difficult to go back to the classroom. It is very, very easy to leave academics to venture into business. That's my own personal opinion, my own personal view, of course, anyways. So, but it is not always easy to leave the industry to go to academic rather. So, although that could be born out of passion, like, oh, I just love to teach, I just love to whatever. And another thing is probably maybe you as a lady, maybe you have a very rich husband that you don't care about the money. Like, so you don't care about the money, so it's always about passion, of course. So it's okay. Yeah.
All right. I think can we dance together for them? Everyone, for your deliberations, your discussions, and sharing your ideas with us. We really do appreciate the contributions that we have heard today, and we hope that we can keep the spirit of deliberation alive.
a great experience. You exchange also with PhDs, with bright minds of today, on their ideas and their views. I love that they're challenging our ideas as well. So, yeah, in this conference you really get a good idea about the future, and also thought for disruption. I find quite important. Really good conference. Thanks for having me. So we make IT clients partner with private sector companies for projects that foster digital transformation. And right now, for instance, we set up a project in Tunisia. Where we work together with 10 universities and we do a training of trainers. So we work together with the universities to get them trained in cloud skills so that they are industry certified. And our private sector partner is AWS in this. And after the training, university professors can certify their students in skills. So they study IT, but now they can also be industry certified, so they can directly verify jobs. That's, for instance, one of the projects we do. But there are various different educational projects that we present, for instance. And we also have a free learning platform, which is called CAPiG. And right now we have 2 million users, and we want to get to 20 million users. We're obviously always looking for partners there, and I believe university and academia can be a great partner. Yeah, but those are just a few examples. We have many, many projects. I mean, it's already happening a lot, but we can have it more. And the same, we talked a lot about entrepreneurship today. I think it's great. Yeah, people who are here today start their own businesses and find solutions also for, African countries from Germany as well. And yeah, that's a great thing.
I think this kind of event from African students in general, it's an opportunity for us to network and also build our capacity, not so much through the speed. And I believe this is new people invited events in general, it's not only for the PhD scholars, but events in general. So we organize our continue to see how
meet people, to discuss ideas, to network, listen to the presentations, and I think it's a very excellent opportunity for not only people who are just starting PhDs, but also those who are currently rounding up their PhDs to sort of explore opportunities for their post-PhD time, maybe academic, maybe also ready to business. So the conference has been really helpful to provide practical guidelines and also sharing of experience with people who have gone through it to be able to learn from life experiences of those who have been through this before this. So I find the whole conference as very useful, and I hope that we will be able to continue not just the conference itself, but having networking sort of program or systems, whichever way we are going to work on it, so that people can continue to take advantage of the network before the next conference. So that's what I think. I think it's a great one, and I would like to continue to be part of it. Thank you very much.
great learning, capacity building, information sharing, and you know, advising and encouraging all participants at the Conference of African Communities in Germany 2.0. I am delighted that we've been able to organize this event successfully. And today will be the last day. It's been a great opportunity to connect physically with participants from all walks of life. And the knowledge and the information that we've acquired today, I hope all participants can leverage on them for their personal development as well as their career and professional development. I'm very hopeful that we'll be able to meet again next year for the 3rd edition of the conference, and we'll continue to do our bit, our part to build one another, build our capacity to contribute to the development of Africa, and also to ensure that we maximize the opportunities available for us in Germany. So I want to say a big thank you to everyone. Thank you for coming around. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your contribution and your support towards the success of this conference. I wish you a great journey back home, and I hope to see you again soon.